think I had very conflicted ideas about the military. It was something that drew me, but at the same time, it was something that was repellent because of, you know, what had happened in Vietnam. I'm completely fascinated by the military structure, so the idea of studying the preparation of war became very interesting.
Which would be much better.
That's what, when they told me the top, that's what I assumed.
Yeah, no, that's much better.
Follow the stairs up!
I think on my own, I don't think I would ever gain access to the military, learn about all these things, and so the camera is a pretext.
Wow. Huh? Yeah, it's, oh, that thing? Staff Sergeant.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you ask them whether I could go on the walkway?
On the catwalk?
Yeah, on the catwalk. Please, thank you. It's cool. Yeah, this is nice. This is like apocalypse now. Frame's not right. My frame should be here. It's very beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
My camera's wood. It's an old Deodorf. It's substantial and cumbersome camera. Because it's so cumbersome, it makes me make a particular type of picture. I think it forces me to resolve questions. So, for example, photographing military exercises. I'm interested in what I have to go through to make it work, and I think it forces me to make a particular type of picture.
This is amazing.
Without really being conscious about it, I think I've always tried to understand what is the meaning of war and what does it really mean to live through times of turbulence like that. And I think a lot of those questions sort of fuel my work. When I first made the pictures in Vietnam, I was not at all ready to even deal with the war. War was part of life for us. Then I've gone to school as a 7-year-old and arriving and finding the front gate of my school in smoke because a mortar had just fallen there, you know, at 5:30 in the morning. So it's something that we take with a stride. I think it was affecting our parents a lot more. As soon as I got to Vietnam, I realized that I was not so interested in the specific psychology of each person, but I was more interested in their activities, what they do, and how that activity is displayed onto the landscape. It's that beauty that I wanted to embrace in my work. For me, being able to go back to Vietnam and make those pictures was a way to reconnect with a homeland, or this idea of what a homeland is. You know, when you live in exile, things like smell and memories, stories you hear from your childhood, all those things take on such importance, things that really connect you to the land. And unfortunately, pictures don't smell, but if I could do that, you know, it would be about smells as well.
Is this straight, John?
Yeah. What do you want to call this?
Offload.
No. What do you want to call this shoot? Do you want like a?
You mean the title?
Well, just gotta call it something.
But it's technically an offload.
You have to
It's you returning from Iraq.
It's a really long title. Just for the sake of naming it in Final Cut, what do you want to call it?
Just call
Beach?
it.
Beach landing?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think each body's of work grows out of the next one because I think you resolve something and then you feel ready to move on, to tackle another issue. And certainly after Vietnam, it was obvious that I had not tackled the issue of war. Working with the reenactors just became such an opportunity.
The first time she went down by herself, and I gotta say, I was not. That was one time. On all the things she's done, that was like the one time I was just concerned, you know, because she didn't know anything about these guys, and she found them on the internet, and the whole idea of she's going down to go out into the woods for a weekend with a bunch of kind of paramilitary guys.
Working with the reenactors was very difficult because they had their own activity, and I needed to interrupt them to set up my own pictures. And at one point, there was this issue of, well, should I completely direct them? Should I hire them? Should I hire actors? And I'm really glad that I didn't, because I think not having complete control was very interesting. I think it created these moments of uncertainty. Black and white was always my choice because of my interest in the drawings of things. In this picture, for example, you know, it was the drawing of the branches coming down, the drawing of the creek. We added the smoke. You know, this one special force guy or reenactor hiding behind this. So it was very clear in my mind what the drawing of the landscape would be. In color, it's not so clear, I think, in terms of space, and then it would be about the space that's in between the green and the actual ridge here. I think in black and white, I would have thought of, I think I would have made a slightly different picture. I'm not sure how to explain it. Okay. I think this was a black and white picture that I made in color because I was interested in all the lines here and the ladder effect here of the ridge. And I think it was only afterwards that I noticed how beautiful the gradation of greens was from the bottom to the top. I think of myself as a landscape photographer. I think my main goal is to try to photograph landscape in such a way so that history could be suggested through the landscape, whether industrial history or my personal history.
Have them stop now. Right there?
Yeah, that's perfect.
That's fine. Do it right there where he is. You can stay there.
Okay, we're going. 1 minute.
10 seconds.
Okay.
Ooh, stop.
Thank you, Steve.
No problem.
The light's perfect. I wish it wasn't raining.
It is.
I try to stay away from light that's too dramatic. I try not to use light too much as some kind of dramatic counterpoint.
10 seconds.
I think I'd rather have something else.
5 seconds.
Add that element of drama.
Turn the hole.
And I was very distraught when the war started in March of 2003, and I felt my heart going out for the soldiers, the young men and women who were being sent to Iraq. My immediate impulse was to go to Iraq. And when that did not work out, and I saw pictures of Marines training in 29 Palms, I thought, well, 29 Palms could be a stand-in for Iraq, and why not? When I'm working with the military, I still think of landscape. Scale is also important to me because it shows how insignificant we are. And especially with the military, no matter how advanced, how hard we work, it's still about transporting, you know, all of these incredible new tanks across vast landscapes. That's what you're up against, and it's about really trying to capture that. And it's about also really trying to make sense of it, and that's why it's important to have an activity. I mean, I think I immediately realized that the kind of work that I make is not the standard traditional political work. You know, it's not agitprop.
Are they getting back on the ship?
All their gear is in the back right now. All the sea bags and packs and stuff like that.
And I think war is very complicated. It's not black and white. But at the same time, what it is meant to do is just horrible.
Guns and stuff, and they put
No,
all this
no,
stuff down?
no.
Huh?
Yeah, no, I'm done.
Cool.
That's all I wanted.
And I think that's why the work seems ambiguous. And it's meant to be.
So what's going on here, babe?
It's the family's waiting for the Marines to actually get off the ship and come in and reunite with them.
So where were you when this was being shot?
Standing next to him.
What kind of direction did you go from?
I just chose the lens and picked out the people. I was originally thinking of contrasting it with the footage of the actual offload of the hard gear. So it would be a 2-channel piece. And this is them actually coming in, walking down in formation.
It's okay.
How old is she?
She is 7 months tomorrow. Yeah, it's easy.
I am not categorically against war. But I think we need to, try to avoid it as much as possible.
To learn more about Art 21, Art in the 21st Century, and its educational resources, please visit us online at pbs.org. Art 21, Art in the 21st Century is available on DVD. The companion book to the program is also available. To order, call PBS Home Video at 1-800-PLAY-PBS.